Hello and welcome to Living Life Naturally. I'm your host, Lynne Wadsworth, a board certified holistic health practitioner and a certified wellness cooking instructor, and I'm here to help you walk in your own truth as you enter into this new and exciting season of life. So here on the podcast, we explore everything that helps you thrive, not just survive, in this powerful season of life. We talk about natural, holistic solutions for your health, your hormones, your energy, and your mindset, because midlife isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of an entirely new chapter. So before we dive into today's conversation, I'd love to invite you ladies to come and join me in my free Facebook community, the Energized Healthy Women's Club. It's a beautiful space where I share weekly tips, strategies, and inspiration to help you boost your health, vitality, and well-being in natural, practical ways. So grab your favorite cup of tea, get cozy, and let's get into today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new Living Life Naturally podcast. We're thrilled to have you here with us today. And before I begin, I would just like to tell you that every like or subscribe to the YouTube channel or Apple Podcasts really helps us get the word out there to more people. And we're finding more and more how really important it is for women to be fully aware of what perimenopause and menopause and even just midlife means to them. So in that regard, I have a great guest with me today, Cheryl Fischer. She is the host of her own podcast, Mind Your Midlife podcast, and hers was created to help midlife women feel confident in their body, their decisions, and their goals, and create a midlife they love. So attainable, ladies. So as a certified life and mindset coach, Cheryl works with clients one-on-one and in group masterclass settings to shift the narrative that tells us we are stuck or not enough to one that allows us to move forward towards self-belief and success. She's a speaker and trainer, presenting and moderating at events and providing corporate training classes around the world. She's also a wife and mom and a grandma, and she enjoys reading, golf, happy hours, travel, and mahjong. I play it, but I guess I never get it right. But thanks for joining us, Cheryl, and tell our listeners where you're joining us from.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I am just outside of Washington, D.C.
How is your weather up there?
It's getting chilly. At the
Yeah,
time we're recording this, it's getting chilly. I'm wearing a
um,
sweater and I see you with your sleeveless. Yeah.
yes, actually, our weather is supposed to dip down into the 50s in the morning tomorrow, so
Oh,
we're kind of having a very early fall, is what
yeah.
I think, but still gets pretty hot in the day. So took my chances, thought by the time I've started this, it should be warming up some.
Right.
So what I want to ask you today is how women can navigate midlife challenges, because there are so many that they encounter in midlife, and it includes changes in their body, their careers, family dynamics. So speak a little about that, if you will, please.
Yes, that's a big, big question,
Mm,
isn't it?
it
Goodness, we
is.
could do multiple episodes.
Yes.
So let's see. It is a time of so much change. And I think before I hit midlife, I thought that maybe the years where we're in college or we're just out of school and we're trying to figure our lives out, or maybe the years where we were having kids, those were the years of the big change. And then I got here. And as you just said, so many potential changes happening at the same time. I think one of the keys is to probably not think about it in the way that we're saying it, where it's
Right.
everything, everything, everything. Let's let's focus on maybe what is the key challenge at the moment, or what is giving us some stress at the moment because what I take clients through a lot is, okay, how are you feeling right now?
Mm,
And maybe that's related to aging parents or it's related to retirement or whatever. What can you put into a word what you're feeling? Is
mm,
it frustrated? Is it defeated? Is it happy? Is it scared? And then we want to figure out, well, what are we telling ourselves about this situation that's creating that emotion? Because sometimes I'm going to say get in there. We kind of go into our heads and we figure out that we're telling ourselves that we have to help our aging parents. And there's this thing running in our mind. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. They're never going to be okay. What am I going to do? It's overwhelming. They're never going to be okay. What am I going to do? We're making it worse.
mm.
And so if we can identify some of that, I feel like that's kind of the first step is to stop making it worse by this running commentary in our minds. And then we can maybe say, okay, where do I need to focus right now? Let me see what can I take, what action can I take? How can I move forward? It's often that mindset piece though that is
Right,
really the key.
right. It certainly is. Mindset is a huge thing because to me, when in retrospect I hit midlife, now looking back, I can think so I can encourage women. To me, now we've got a longer lifespan. We're just starting the best years of our lives. In my opinion, I think that there are so many blocks out the way and so much more attention that we can give to ourselves. And I think this is a time when women start refocusing on themselves and thinking about, well, what is it that's going on? Is there something I can change? And a good way of thinking of that is often when you get to, say, your late 30s, that's when perimenopause may start into your early 40s, we suddenly find ourselves so unhappy with what we're doing. It's not fulfilling our dream. And to me, it's the perfect time to make a change in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the positive side of looking at things. You can begin to follow more of your dreams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, let's not get stuck in the hard parts. Let's realize where the opportunities are. Absolutely agree with you. A lot of times, if you had kids, and I recognize not everyone had kids, but if you had kids, they're now in college or maybe even out of college, as mine are, and they're doing their thing. And so it's not the constant day to day physical need to drive them around and do all the things. And
Yeah.
that gives us more time. So that's an opportunity as well, more time to enjoy ourselves or to figure out what we want next or whatever that may be.
Yeah, really. And I think the other thing that I found myself doing, and I talked to a lot of women about this, is the whole nostalgia thing. And sometimes we kind of put ourselves down because we get nostalgic and we kind of think, well, maybe we're stuck in the past. But I know that you talk about that a lot. So give me some of your feedback on that.
Yeah, I think that nostalgia can be used in a really positive way, or exactly as you said, it can be a really negative thing. And the way we can tell what we're doing to ourselves about that is how is it making us feel and
Mm,
pay attention to that. So I love pictures.
mm.
I always say pictures is one of my love languages. It's not really a love language, but it still is. And I have a digital frame in my living room that
Mm,
has like 700 pictures in it that it randomly goes through, and I never know what's going to be there. And it's of when I was younger and my kids were younger and recently, and just all a mix of everything. And it makes me so happy to be able to see pictures and remember the fun things that we did.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's a really positive thing because if we've made it 40, 50, 60, 70 years into life, I think we should celebrate all the fun
Yes,
we had.
yes, yes.
That's positive. If we catch ourselves going back and remembering something or looking at something from the past and going, oh, why did I say that? Or I can't believe I'm so stupid. Why did I make that decision? Look where I am. It's all because of that. That's where it can turn
Mm,
quite negative. And so we have to just kind of take a step back and say, okay, that happened, and what can I do now? And see if we can find some fun ways to look back at the past instead.
mm. I had the opportunity to look into the past in a way, you could put it. Earlier this year, we went on a cruise to the UK, and since my mum died, I have not been back home.
Mm.
And not that it took me near where her home would have been, but we had the opportunity to go around Liverpool. Actually, I'd never been to Liverpool the whole time I lived in England, and we did Ireland and Scotland and Wales. And to me,
Oh,
it brought back such beautiful memories because my whole family, like including my cousins and my aunt and uncle, we had the most fantastic vacations every year to a lot of the places we went, and it was full of laughter and we always had fun. So one big thing for me was, because going to Liverpool, um, I could see the Beatles everywhere. My husband never liked the Beatles, but I loved the Beatles. I was still living in England, of course, when they came out. And so in Liverpool, everywhere was the Beatles. And down on the port, they'd got the statues of all of them there, which I insisted, even in the rain, that my husband took pictures of, because to me, it was a nostalgia that brought me great joy.
yeah, which
Yeah,
is great. That's
yeah.
great. This is not exactly related, but it kind of is. So I'm going to use it. One of my friends said to me when I was planning the podcast and becoming a coach and everything, I said, well, how would people know that I am an expert in anything? And she said, you are in your 50s. You have lived for 50 years. That is so much life experience that there's always something that you can share with people. And that also means to me, relevant to this, there's always something fun and
Yes,
amazing and great memories to go back to. There has to be. We've lived a lot of life. There has to
yeah,
be good stuff.
yeah, yeah. So I'd like to bring up something that's a little bit different. You mentioned photographs, and it reminds me of music because that's my jam. So let's explore the emotional well-being through music, photographs, mindset, things that even enhance more, things that can bring us the joy, which also help with one of the things that comes into to play when we hit midlife is anxiety. And people haven't always related the two, but anxiety is definitely quite a big thing there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe anxiety often comes along with just a period of change in life because anxiety means that we are kind of worrying over things that might happen and we're not
Mm,
sure about it and it becomes this kind of grinding thing. So, yeah, absolutely that can happen. I agree it's connected. I think that it's about experimenting with different activities and maybe mental tools and finding what works for each of us. So for me, as I was saying, I love looking back at photos. You mentioned music. Music is a big deal, a
yes, it
big
is.
deal. So if you're listening to this, don't ever let someone make you feel bad for the type of music you like. Like what
Yeah.
you like and listen to it to help your mood because it's really powerful. And there's a lot of science behind that too, in terms of
Hmm.
the rhythm and the sounds and all of that. And I don't want to get myself off track. What was I about to say? And there's other tools that you can use to calm your nervous system, to kind of reset yourself. And one of the things that I do is tapping.
Hmm.
And I know that you know tapping
Hmm.
as well. And the reason that tapping is effective is you're tapping on acupressure points in the body. And so it's allowing energy to get unstuck, for lack of a simple word, and flow through your body. And that means emotion too. And And sometimes anxiety really is related to we're just kind of stuck in this loop of I'm sad about something, or I'm angry about something, or I'm scared about something, and we can't seem to let it process. And so that is one of the things that I use tapping for myself and that I help people to learn how to do because it can calm us down. And our brains work a lot better coming up with ideas and not talking so badly to ourselves when we're actually calm.
Right. So I know one of the easiest things for people to think about, and I know you and I have talked about it before, it is even breathing, deep breathing.
Yeah,
Um, People just
absolutely.
think, oh, it's so simple, but what kind of deep breathing do you ask people to practice or use?
Great question. And that's really important because it's free and it doesn't take that
Yeah.
long and it's simple and we could add meditation to that as well. But focusing on
Yes.
breathing,
Yes.
if you even you people probably have heard of like 4 4 4 or some
Mm,
variation of that. Breathe in to a count of four, hold it for a count of four, breathe out to a count of four. Or maybe you don't hold it for as long. You just do in and out. It doesn't matter too much. And I'm not a breath work coach exactly, but these are some of the things that definitely will help. And the thing I will add about breathing, if you're going to, let's say, do a couple of deep breaths when you get stressed or anxious, or you're going to take 5 or 10 minutes and you're going to time yourself on a timer and do some deep breathing. Feel your stomach when you do it because
yes.
this was a big piece of learning for
Yes.
me and you're nodding. Yes. Because when we breathe, we often, well, our lungs are kind of higher up on our body, so we think, well, that's where the air needs to go. And the way it was explained to me that made the most sense to me was if you're really breathing in a big deep breath and it's really expanding your lungs in an impactful way, then that's going to need to expand your abdomen as well because those expanded lungs are pushing out into everything else. And I was able to visualize that. So you want your stomach, I guess, to be rising, coming out when you
Hmm.
take a deep breath. And I think for a lot of people, we don't do that typically.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I sang from the age of 5, and I actually took opera singing lessons, and that was one of the big things, and it's carried me through life. And one of the reasons they tell you with your stomach is because that's the way you fill up your entire diaphragm, and it's so important for helping your voice, for helping you if you want to sing. And then, of course, later in life, I learned as a coach how helpful it is for anxiety, panic attacks, stress. I mean, you can use it in so many situations.
Yes, yes, yes. And you mentioned panic attacks. I think people are taught this for panic attacks, but one of the things I like to do is sometimes called a five senses meditation.
Mm,
And that is really just as simple as paying attention to your surroundings. What do I see? What do I
mm,
hear? What do I smell? What am I missing? What does the air feel like? Thinking through all the senses and just being present. And that can help with panicky situations, but
mm.
also just in general, it's good for us.
Right. Yeah. One of the things I love is how you can, because we're really talking in a way, thinking about mind shifts and positivity in midlife. I don't think people realize how good it can be for you to go outside, stand barefoot in the grass, and then even take some deep breaths from there. And it just is amazing how that changes your attitude.
Yes, and that is grounding.
Yes.
And see, there's where I have a disadvantage now that we're going into the cold weather. It's a little less comfortable to stand outside
Mm,
in bare feet in the grass, but there are other grounding things we can do. But yes, grounding it's anti-inflammatory. It helps regulate our nervous system, our emotions, our mood, and it's again scientifically based that if we put usually feet, but any bare skin to the earth, grass, sand, even stone, then we are taking in a charge from the earth. And it's dealing with the free radicals in our
Mm.
bodies. It's really, yes, amazing. So if you're grounding and you're taking a deep breath and you're outside, that's like the trifecta, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. And the other thing I like to encourage women to do is when we're outside walking, we're so often just listening to a podcast or music. Now, the music to me really helps me, but we forget, let's just go out for a walk and let's experience nature, because nature is another thing that just grounds us, gives us a better perspective and a better sense of gratitude when we look around at all of the beauty.
Yes, and I just this year learned of the term forest bathing.
Mm.
And that sounds like, what am I doing in the forest? But it is simply walking through trees, meaning surrounding yourself with greenery, trees, whatever, in the woods type of environment or hiking, because plants give off chemicals
Mm.
that are good for us. And so being surrounded by that is really healthy as well. And that is something that I knew because I knew how calming it would be to be out in nature, exactly as you're saying. But apparently, it's really actually physically good
Wow.
for us too.
Mm. Mm. Can you think of any of the other things that can change a woman's perspective when it comes to midlife, or when they start moving into perimenopause?
Other things that can change our perspective. I mean, gratitude is always a tool
Yeah. Yeah.
that can change perspective in any situation. And I'm not going to oversimplify it so much that I say, oh, just be grateful in whatever
Yeah.
situation you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we're in a bad situation and we can't necessarily be grateful for that, but there's probably something. And what I like to talk about the most because it feels easier is something called glimmers, which are like little moments of joy.
Hmm.
And if we can train ourselves to notice those things, then our brains actually learn that those things are part of our lives and they look for them more. And so, what I mean is, you open up the window shade in the morning and the sun just looks gorgeous, and you just take a second and appreciate it. Or you're drinking your coffee and you take a sip and you think, oh, I made that perfectly. Just really feel it, appreciate it. All things like that happen all the time. And if we train ourselves to notice them, it could be in the middle of a day that is just terrible, but we still find that little tiny thing that happened. And then gradually your brain really does learn to look for them more, which, I mean, the more we have happy moments like that, the better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I think that's a wonderful way to express it with the name Glimmers.
Yeah, I
If
love it.
nothing else sticks in your mind, ladies, think about glimmers, because that can really change you and be very impactful.
Absolutely. And the way our brains work, our brains kind of filter everything that we're taking in terms of what's going on in our environment. And so what we notice consciously is things that agree with our filter settings,
Mm.
meaning if I think that all cars are black, I'm going to notice a lot of black cars. But I'm not going to notice the white and red and blue ones going by because my brain just like, whatever. So if we start to notice things like glimmers, and it becomes part of the filter where our brains are saying, ooh, like lots of cool, happy stuff happens throughout the day, then we're going to see it more.
Mm. Mm. One of the one of the things that gives me a glimmer of joy, we live on a lake and we have different families of sandhill cranes that live here. And when they come up for us to feed them corn.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it's just such a joyful moment. They don't stay long, they eat a little and they go, but it just really fills me up with joy to see them there.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
You're out in nature, you're
yeah,
interacting with animals. Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And let me see. To me, it's so important in midlife for women to be aware of their well-being because we know that if you're looking at something holistically, it's not just what you're taking into your body and what you're eating. It's so much more like we're talking about exploring nature and how you can find those positive encounters throughout the day or glimmers. So when we're transitioning into midlife, do you have some specific thoughts on, I know we've talked about the glimmers, but maybe um, how women can change their attitude in other ways? Because I just know that mindset's such a huge thing because this time of life is thought of so negatively. And I want as much as possible just to speak positivity into our audience.
Yeah, and the way our words are powerful, the way we speak is a big, big
Mm,
deal. And one of the things that I talk or speak on, I guess, a lot with women is about the words we say. Of course, the stuff in our minds is
mm,
really a big deal, but the words we say are then telling our brains, oh, ooh. And we often end up in this complaining habit. And I don't know if this is kind of one of the things you had on your mind, but pay attention if you're listening to the next few conversations you have with people, maybe not with close friends, but with acquaintances, with work colleagues, with people that, are in your life, but maybe not your best friend. Because oftentimes we fall into this habit of complaining as conversation. So the
mm,
conversation,
mm.
oh, the traffic was so bad. I know it took me forever to get here. Oh, and it's raining today. I know. Well, everything's gross. Like I can't, the copier's broken. When I was a teacher, it was always the copier's broken. Why is the copier always broken? And it just, we're not upset physically, actively upset. We're just talking. But when we create a habit where our conversations are about things that are bad, it again, it's kind of teaching our brains that there's a lot of stuff to complain about. And it's making everybody participating in the conversation either just kind of ho hum or bringing us down.
Mm,
And I just think we don't realize that. Now, even a little bit worse, sometimes we do this in order to make ourselves smaller and let somebody else feel bigger. And I don't think we should ever be saying, oh, yeah, I know, like this dress makes me feel, look terrible because we're trying to make somebody else feel better.
mm.
But we do it.
We do.
And when we create those habits, then that stuff is going to be going in our heads all the time. And it does affect us and it does change our mindset. And when I realized what I was doing, and the reason I realized is because my husband said to me many years ago about a business I had started, why don't you just stop if you don't like it? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, all you do is complain about it. I had no idea. I had no way. I thought I was just talking, sharing, whatever. That's not what he was hearing. And it was really a wake-up call to pay
Mm,
attention.
mm.
And I would say there was a period of time where I didn't really know how to have a conversation. I didn't know what to say because I didn't want to talk about the traffic, the weather, or the copier being broken. So I had to come up with one or two things that I could say when I just was truly at a loss. And I would say, did you do something fun this weekend? Or, something like that. I would just have it in my mind that I could use that question and see if I could redirect the conversation. But it took some time to
Mm,
get over that
mm.
habit for sure.
Yeah, I have been one of the things I've been learning, reading about, and it just pops up everywhere, is about, when you see someone, as you're saying often, especially in work situations, you can be really quick to look and judge and think, oh, I don't like this. But when do we ever think to say to people, you know, I really appreciate you? There's always something we can appreciate about people. And it not only lifts them up, but then somehow it comes back to you and you feel good too.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. What a great additional tool besides having a question or two in mind is to think of something you can compliment someone
Hmm.
about. Sincerely, of course, right?
Right, right.
But yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that you have a resource for our listeners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've been mentioning here and there as we've been talking about recognizing your emotion and then kind of going back behind that and trying to figure out what the I'm always making this loop with my hand, what the thoughts are running on a loop inside our heads. And so I have a story cycle for you as a resource, which is on my website. I'm sure you'll put this in the show notes,
Yes,
but
yes.
cherylpfisher.com/story cycle. There we go. That you can see a wheel of emotions because we get even out of practice as to how do I feel besides happy, sad, or mad,
Right,
and be
right.
able to name the emotion and then try to figure out what in the world am I telling myself that's creating that, and it walks through that.
That's great. Yes, of course, I'll put everything on the show notes. And is your website a good place for people to connect with you, or is something you got somewhere else that's even no, your website?
Absolutely. So CherylPFisher.com. There's a separate website for the podcast, but you can get to it from
Yeah,
there. So
yeah,
everything in one place. And people are welcome to find me on social media. I'm most active on Instagram, again at Cheryl P. Fisher. So absolutely happy to be connected there too.
yeah. I'll have all of that down there for you. And I want to thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, and I appreciate all of your insight and knowledge, Cheryl.
Thank you so much for having me, Lynn. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today on the Living Life Naturally podcast. I really hope you enjoyed today's conversation and that it inspired you, encouraged you, and reminded you that midlife isn't something to endure, it's a season to embrace. So if you enjoyed this episode, would you do me a huge favor? Please take a minute to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop. So until next time, ladies, remember, you are strong, you are wise, and you are just getting started. Take care of yourself because you are so worth it.